You guys always seem to have the best suggestions when it comes to reacting to videos or finding really good videos to react to. And I really appreciate that because it lets me know what you guys want to see. And also, it gives me new series to take a look at. Even when I'm not reacting to a video, I'll watch a series just by myself. And I really think that you have amazing ideas. So when we got suggested soft lockpicking, which happened a lot, by the way, that happened like a ton. I asked if it was okay to react. They said absolutely, which thank you. I really appreciate that. That's very nice. I can only assume soft lock picking means getting out of soft locks, which is a very interesting concept. A soft lock in a game is when you get trapped in an area and you cannot leave no matter what you do. You have eliminated all options for you to leave an area in a game. The door is locked. You don't have the key. You can't reload to save. Everything is terrible. But let's find out. It's a nice intro.
Hello internet users, and welcome back to another video where I take unnecessary measures to prove a point. So for a while now, I've been getting a ton of ideas for game-ending situations sent in to me, and
yeah, I just realized that the backpack in Emerald is different to the backpack in Ruby and Sapphire.
There was one in particular that really stood out to me and got me thinking. I had a few different variations of it told to me, but the basic idea is this. What would happen if you trapped yourself at the Pokemon League with just a single Electrode that only knows self-destruct?
I guess you just blow up and then you have to go back to the Pokemon Center, right? That's what happens,
Think about
right?
that one for a second. How would you...
Or are we talking in the Pokemon League? Or you have to try and leave from the Pokemon League? Oh, if you're inside, maybe you could blow a hole in the door.
Be able to battle your way out of that, if your only available option is guaranteed to knock you out in the process.
We're trying to escape the Indigo Plateau. Oh, not the Indigo Plateau. Evergrande City as a whole.
That's the question we're going to be answering today.
Oh, and you need HMs, that's right.
So first let's choose the game we'll be doing this in. We already know that we can escape this in Gen 1 due to the 1 in 256 glitch, as we already covered that last time with Magikarp.
Whoa, hold on. Wait, the 1 in 256 glitch? So the idea was you just wait until a 1 in 256 chance happens and then you leave? Okay, I did not realize it was going to be this ridiculous. I thought this was going to be a little bit of a thought experiment. I didn't think we were going to be torturing ourselves Jigsaw style.
And in Gen 2, there is an old man with an Abra right outside of the Elite Four. Speaking with him will let you teleport all the way back to your house.
I've always wondered what this guy was all about. Is he literally just there to prevent soft locks? And also, why does Abra look like that? Why? Are you okay, Abra? What's going on, little guy?
So we can't really set something up there either. So in that case, we're going to try and create this trap in Generation 3. Here's what I did to set up the save file. First, I played through most of the game up to when you first have access to the Pokemon League. I made sure that over the course of my playthrough, I only taught HM moves to 2 Pokemon only. For this to work, I also need to have a Pokemon that knows Teleport. I went ahead and caught an Abra from the cave on Dewford. And
because you need to be able to leave certain areas?
Obviously, I also have to make another stop to catch a Voltorb. Voltorb learns self-destruct at level 27 and evolves at level 30. So after a quick little grind and a visit to the move deleter, we're ready to go. At this point, I have 0 Pokemon in the PC storage.
The question is, which Pokemon did you start with? Very important question. I think maybe Trico.
And 5 in my party.
Never mind, it was Blaziken. Okay, I'm wrong, I guess. Stupid idiot.
My Blaziken, who I use to fight all of the battles in the game with, my 2 HM slaves, the teleporting Abra, and the Pokemon that I'll be trapped with, Electrode.
Now, the way this usually works is if a HM is only on one Pokemon, it will prevent it from being released. I actually don't know if that works in these games. I assume it does. I know it works in the later games, where you can't release a Pokemon if it's the only Pokemon that you have that knows this HM. I think it works in this game because I remember doing it myself in Fire Red when I did Kaizo Ironmon.
Now that we've got all the tools we need, here's the first step. Use the Pokemon Center at the League. The move Teleport sends you back to the last Pokemon Center you used, so we need to do this in order to mark Evergrande City as our teleport location. Next, release your starter Pokemon.
No, Blaziken, but you've developed such a strong bond with it over the 60 or 55 levels of being leveled up and the, 3 hours it took to grind through the game.
Or whatever you used in the playthrough. In my case, it was just Blaziken, but it doesn't really matter. The goal here is to be left with the HM slaves, the teleporter, and the self-destruct.
Goodbye, brave soldier.
Next, we need to get rid of the HM slaves, but they can't be released the same way Blaziken was.
Okay, so it does have the same feature then. I guess you could... Oh! I know he's gonna do it. He's gonna get out of the area, go to the move deleter, delete the moves, and then teleport back into the Pokemon League,
If
right?
you'll recall from some of my other videos, I've mentioned how it is impossible in this generation to release a Pokemon if it is the last user of an HM move such as Surf or Strength.
Which actually is a really good way to prevent things like that from happening. Obviously, a kid's not going to understand. If a kid thinks that they're stuck somewhere, they're going to be like, oh man, oh geez, I can't get out of here. They're not going to look at the PC and be like, oh my god, no. Well, actually, maybe they would. Maybe they would check the PC and realize that they still had a Pokemon that had this. I don't know why 5-year-olds are releasing all their mons. Maybe they're just sad.
Attempting to do so will cause the Pokemon to come back, with a message saying that it was worried about you. This feature exists to prevent players from accidentally doing the very thing I'm trying to do right now. However, it can easily be worked around. Put the HM users in the daycare. The reason that I limited my HM moves to only 2 Pokemon was so that I could just put them both here.
They didn't think about that. Ah, Game Freak. Looks like, see, what she should be saying is, oh no, dearie, I'm very sorry. It looks like those Pokemon are very worried about you. They can't leave or else you trap yourself in Evergrande City. That's what they're telling me anyway.
Next, use Teleport. This will warp you back to the Pokemon League. And immediately after that, release the Teleporter. Teleport may be usable as a field move, but it doesn't have any restrictions for releasing your last Pokemon that knows it. It's also worth noting that you could also just let Electrode faint, which would also take you back to Evergrande, removing the need for a teleporter altogether. It doesn't make too much of a difference though, you can go with whatever way you want. Next, get rid of your money and items. This is so that we will no longer have access to Pokeballs. It won't be
Make yourself homeless. In order for this little trick to work, you need to be on the streets. You need to have your bank accounts at 0.
Be able to catch anything else to use. And for the final step, save your game. And that's it, viewers. The trap has been complete, and now we're stuck.
All right, but how do you get out? You have no repels in order to avoid the wild Pokemon. You have no HMs to be able to get out. How does he... And the rest of the video is escaping? That's interesting.
Let's
okay,
take a
cool.
look at our situation. We don't have access to our HM users anymore. This means that we cannot go back through Victory Road. In order to do so, Surf, Strength, Rock Smash, and Waterfall are necessary to have. All
Is there like a walk through walls glitch you could do? Obviously, cheating is not allowed, but...
which cannot be taught to Electrode. As you can see from this footage here, we cannot go very far into the cave now, before we need Rock Smash and Strength. The only other way to leave the area is to defeat the Elite Four.
Which you can do easily by using Electrode to blow up in front of the people, killing them instantly.
Something that obviously cannot be done when your only move is self-destruct. Looking at all of the suggestions for this, it seems like you guys really had everything covered. Because all of the TMs were discarded, it's impossible to teach Electrode another offensive move.
Oh, these are fan suggestions for softlocks that he could get himself into so that he could try and figure out a way to get out. But, I mean, there's 12 minutes left on this video, so I'm excited to see how this works.
Because it faints upon self-destructing, it will never be able to gain EXP, meaning that it can't learn new moves by leveling up. As well, it'll never run out of PP for self-destruct, as after it faints, you'll be brought back to the Pokemon Center and it will all be restored.
So no struggle.
This means that there is no way for Electrode to use struggle either.
Yep.
By now, I'm sure that a few of you are thinking that you can just trade the Electrode for something else. But
no, but I mean, I guess, wait, does Evergrande City have a trade area?
That's not possible either. For some bizarre reason, in Ruby and Sapphire, there is no escalator at the Pokemon League, meaning that there is no way to access the Trade Center. Interestingly enough, this was addressed in Emerald version, and one was added to the map.
Ah, that's why he's playing Ruby and Sapphire. That's so interesting.
However, it doesn't even make a difference, as you need to have at least 2 Pokemon to be able to trade. And
I guess because you could trade away something that would softlock you?
Because we don't have Pokeballs, or any way to earn money to buy them, we can't catch something to meet that requirement. So
there must be a way.
Just sending another Pokemon that knows Fly from another game is out of the question. The save file now seems to be ruined, with the player now stuck in an endless hell where all they can do is self-destruct and wake back up at the Pokemon Center.
This sounds like a creepypasta. I can imagine this being on some like message board or something like, write a Pokemon horror story in 3 lines. Trapped in Evergrande City. No money, no items. Electrode only. Self-destruct.
The end of the game is just within reach, but the player can now no longer go forward or backward. All we can do now is start over from the beginning.
This is like when Dormammu was killing Doctor Strange in the hit movie made by Marvel, Doctor Strange.
Or we could take a look and see if there's something stupid you could do to escape it. So
I personally can't think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, as we go, some ideas may develop, but the way that things are set up now, it looks like the comments section have done a very good job putting them in a pretty much impossible situation.
Really had a lot to consider for this one. You all made sure to give me as little to work with as possible, but I still knew that somewhere there had to be something that you all missed. Something that I could take advantage of. And luckily, there was. In order for this escape to be possible, though, 2 conditions need to be met beforehand. The biggest problem to overcome here is the fact that Electrode only knows self-destruct. For there to be any chance of escape, I need to have access to something that allows me to give it another move. And that something is Flash.
A TM.
Like I said earlier, we had to get rid of all of our items.
But you still have HMs. If you can get Flash, Flash can't really do much for you, though. It doesn't deal any damage, so you can't knock out any Pokemon with it. It lowers accuracy, but I mean, it gives you something to work with,
key
right?
items, including HMs, cannot be discarded. Once they are obtained, they are permanently stuck in your bag and are always available to use. That being said, most of the key items here won't do us any good except for Flash. Out of all the HM moves in the game, Flash is the only one that Electrode can learn. Nobody seemed to think to restrict this as a part of the setup, likely due to the fact that it's not a damage-dealing move and that it's technically an optional item found early in the game.
So you have a move that you can use. Ironically, Flash lowers accuracy, but also has bad accuracy.
And let's face it, it really is a pretty forgettable HM move. So now Electrode has 2 moves, but the question now is, what?
Oh my god, there's no way. I think I have an idea. Is he gonna use Flash over and over again until the opponent struggles and they can't kill you because they keep missing? So you have to bank on them missing a -6 accuracy until he struggle to death? Is that it? No, because you'll also run out of Flash PP. You only have 20. And usually that's not going to be more PP than the amount of PP the Pokemon's 4 other moves that you're battling against is going to have anyway.
What does this change? In battle, all Flash does is lower the opponent's accuracy. Even if it's used, all you're really doing is stalling, and Electrode is eventually still going to be forced to use self-destruct. It doesn't seem like teaching it the move accomplishes anything at all.
I'm
However,
sure it does.
This is where the other condition comes into play. Whether or not you can escape is also dependent on which version of the game you are playing. I'm sure by now some of you have been wondering why I haven't been playing on Emerald version, as it is considered to be the quote-unquote definitive edition of Gen 3. This is because in Emerald, you cannot find Meditite or Medicham in the wild.
Oh no, wait. I know how this is going to work. Okay, all right. We figured out how they're going to get experience. They're going to get experience by spamming Flash until the Medicham spams high jump kick, which you'll probably know at this point in the game, which deals damage to itself. Eventually, the Medicham will boom, 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 boom. So many times, it will die and collapse on the floor. That'll give you some experience and something to work with. Eventually, you'll learn a move, right?
However, in Ruby and Sapphire, they both can be found in Victory Road.
And they know jump kick.
Trap, we only have access to 2 floors, one of which we cannot go very far into, due to needing HM moves. It is within these few tiles that we have a 10% chance of encountering a Medicham
There it is.
and a
Yes.
5% chance of encountering Meditite.
That's
These
not bad
2
either.
Pokemon are very important, due to the fact that they know the move High Jump Kick.
Yeah!
High Jump Kick is a move that has seen some changes throughout the different generations. Upon missing the kick, the user will crash and hurt
Oh,
itself.
dude, this is an absolute nightmare. You have to just wait until they miss enough high jump kicks, because the thing is, they're still 10 levels ahead of you, and they're still not that weak. It's still a stab move, and if you get hit with these high jump kicks, then you're going to take damage. You're going to probably get knocked out by 2 at the very least. With only a 15% chance to find either one of them. I mean, Meditite would be easier to fight, obviously, but you're going to be going up against Medichams and Meditites for so long. Obviously, being 10 levels ahead, like, a Medicham's going to give a decent amount of experience. It's not going to be the worst in the world. It's not going to be Piddle's first bag of tricks and give you 5. It's going to be Master Piddle's huge box of oddities and enjoyments that gives you 500. Eventually, you're going to level up. But another thing that we need to figure out is, what does Electrode learn in this game? In Generation 3, Electrode gets self-destruct, and level 34, it learns Rollout, which, again, is not a viable move. This is not a viable option. Essentially, he's going to have to grind like this until he's like level 60, or at least a level where you can learn something else.
Here in Gen 3, the recoil is equal to half of the damage the move would have dealt if it landed.
Oh, which would actually be quite a lot because he's 10 levels
Gen
ahead.
2, it was 1/8 of the damage. And in Gen 1, it was bugged and only dealt a single hit point to the user.
Of course. In Gen 1, it was bugs. That sentence could apply to pretty much anything.
Show of hands, is anyone honestly surprised to hear that? Apparently it was fixed for Pokemon Stadium though. But anyways, what's important here is how the move works for us in our current situation. Upon encountering either of these two Pokemon, we can both waste turns and lower their accuracy with Flash.
Oh, dude, this is the worst. You have to sit there and spam Flash until they KO themselves. But they could KO you, and then you're going to have to do it all over again. You're going to have to go back to the Pokemon Center after pretty much every single battle so you can waste turns of Flash over and over and over again. And you have to do this at least until level 34 to get rollout, to when then you can do a little bit of damage. But let's be honest, Victory Road is mostly steel and fighting types. So what are you going to roll out? You're going to roll out the ground type? You're going to roll out the fighting types? You're going to roll out the freaking Medicham? You'd still be losing to them even if you did have rollout because you're too weak to be able to knock them out. What are you going to do? Roll out the Lairon?
From there, it's just a game of chance, hoping that they KO themselves from repeatedly missing high jump kick. This is incredibly tedious to do, but the point is, doing so proves that it's still possible to gain EXP in a battle.
Please tell me he has a timer of how long it took to do this. I don't care if he uses speed up. In fact, he should be using speed up. This is ridiculous. I want to know how much real life spent on this there was.
Now, I know what you're thinking though, but wouldn't it be easier to find a Pokemon like Graveler who knows Explosion? And you would be correct, except that the only way to encounter Geodude and Graveler in this game's Victory Road is by breaking boulders with Rock Smash. And as we've previously gone over, that's not a move we have access to. Out of all the other Pokemon in Victory Road, there aren't any others that know Self-Destruct or Explosion either. High Jump Kick is the only way to make an enemy Pokemon here faint. There is nothing else to work with. After a whole lot of time continuing to do this, eventually Electrode will reach level 34, where it learns Rollout. To get to this point, I had to take down 7 Medicham and 9 Meditite.
Okay, 7 Medicham and 9 Meditite is still tedious. It still takes a long time to do. It is also worth noting that despite the fact that Meditite has half the encounter rate as Medicham, he still managed to kill more of them, which is probably because the Medicham actually ended up killing him instead by landing high jump kicks.
From there, things get a bit easier. Now that we have a way of dealing damage, we can slowly level up Electrode until it gets more moves. With Rollout, you can slowly but surely knock out some of the weaker Pokemon like Zubat and
Swift.
Whismur. At level 48, Electrode will learn Swift. This is the last offensive move that it can learn by leveling up.
No, don't worry, because in Generation 3, it will also get Explosion, right? So we're excited for Explosion? No? We're not excited for Explosion?
Not including Explosion, which we obviously don't want.
Right. Yeah, no, that would suck. At least he could forget self-destruct.
The next goal is to try to defeat the first member of the Elite Four, Sydney. Even if Electrode were to reach level 100, it doesn't seem feasible that it could defeat the champion with its lacking move pool.
Also, you have to consider the fact that he has no money. Which, I guess he's trying to get money from Sydney. But if you get money from Sydney, you also lose money from losing the battle against Phoebe. Which, I mean, maybe you also beat Phoebe by just using Rollout, because Swift's not going to do anything in that fight either. So you're slowly grinding up money, which what might be like 500 Pokebucks at a time. Actually, no, it might be like 2,000.
If we can just beat Sydney, we will earn enough money to be able to afford Pokeballs. This does take quite a bit of grinding to accomplish, though, especially since his first Pokemon has Intimidate as its ability. After likely being...
Wait, he was level 72? Oh my god! How long did that take?
Defeated by Phoebe right away, you should have enough to buy 2 Ultra Balls. And now that we've finally gotten our hands on these, you should easily be able to capture something, and use it to be able to trade with another game. But in the event that that isn't possible, you'll have to be more selective with what you go and catch. If you were to get a Lairon, and then evolve it into Aggron, you would be able to teach it Surf, Strength, and Rock Smash. However,
that's pretty good. That gets you through a little bit, but you also need Waterfall, don't you, to leave?
You would still need a Waterfall user to get out of Victory Road. Surfing on the water here gives a 100% chance of encountering Golbat.
As we all know, Golbat can learn a Waterfall.
And no Water-type Pokemon. In this area, the only way to...
Wait, really? There's no Water-type Pokemon whatsoever? That seems like a silly choice. When they're sitting there trying to make the whole encounter pool for the Victory Road, they're like, oh yeah, the water? It's gonna be bats. Bats everywhere. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We're going to put some gold bats in there. What? Water type? No. We don't need them. Why would you want water types in the water? That's silly.
Capture something that can be taught waterfall is to fish. However, all of the fishing rods are optional items. In the event that you didn't pick up any of the rods, the last option is to catch a golbat. For some reason, golbat is unable to learn fly until it evolves into crobat.
Oh, so you have to make it love you.
So you're going to have to spend some time increasing its friendship before that will happen.
But then
Once
you can fly.
Have fly, you can come and go as you please. You're now free to resume your adventure and can go properly prepare for the game's final battles.
You did it!
There you have it. The Electrode trap has been escaped. And in addition to that, for the first time in Pokemon history, we found a situation where Flash is actually necessary to make progress.
Yeah.
That being said, now that we know the flaws of this trap, we
Damn, there's a modest Electrode
can
too.
change it a little in order to make it truly impossible.
Okay, so, well, I mean, you ban Flash and that's it, right?
Since Flash is optional, all you have to do is not pick it up during the early portions of the game. And even though that's all we need to do, let's go ahead and make it even more cruel. Another thing you could do would be to have Electrode at level 100 when setting things up. That way it would no longer be able to level up, and therefore could not learn any new moves.
Oh, that's messed up. That's not good.
Again, nobody thought to add this restriction because it already appeared impossible for Electrode to be able to gain EXP in the first place. Another thing that people surprisingly forgot was the Coliseum bonus disc.
Okay, I feel like that's not a surprising thing that people forgot. I feel like that's a pretty common thing that people wouldn't remember. The Coliseum bonus disc. What, so you get Jirachi? Oh, so you just put Jirachi in your game and then you're fine, right?
You can send a Jirachi to Ruby or Sapphire. Doing so would give you the second Pokemon you need to be able to trade with other games.
Hey, I feel like that's where that outside of the bounds of the ideas here. Does anyone remember that usually? I mean, that's the only way to shiny hunt Jirachi as far as I can remember. But that's not like a common thing that people think about regularly. The amount of people that regularly think about Coliseum is already so low, which makes me so sad because it's one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time, and we definitely need some kind of sequel to that Game Freak. They're never going to do. They're never going to do it. They're never going to do it. It makes me so sad.
However, only one Jirachi can be sent per save file, so all you'd have to do is obtain and release the thing beforehand, ensuring that you can't receive one once you're trapped. As well, you could just perform all of the steps on Emerald version, which apparently can't receive this Jirachi at all. In addition to that, this would prevent Medicham and Meditite from being found in the wild. And that's not all. Did you know that it's actually possible to reach the Pokemon League without all of the badges? You can completely skip Winona, as the badge you earn only allows you to use Fly. And
okay, someone actually rolling up to the Pokemon League with only 6 badges is an interesting concept. There has to be enough players where that has happened at one point. There's almost 20 million people that have probably played Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, probably more than that actually. That at some point, there has to be someone over one of their playthroughs that accidentally, without realizing it, and not on purpose, went to the Pokemon League and then thought, oh heavens, I only have 6 gym badges. I feel like it would be really easy to skip Brawly because you could just go past them and you don't have to go back. But Winona's right there. Right there. You'd have to consciously make the decision not to do that. Has anyone accidentally done that?
And as convenient as Fly is in just about every Pokemon game, it's not necessary to use it to make progress. So if you set the trap up now, you'll no longer be able to enter into the Elite Four battles. Assuming that the single available trainer in Victory Road has been defeated, it's now impossible to enter into a battle where you can gain money, even if you could attack.
The little note in the right there said, Wally cannot be rebattled until you defeat the Elite Four. I'm sorry that my big head covered that. And I don't know how much money you get from this guy, but it can't be enough for an Ultra Ball. Surely it's not enough for one Ultra Ball. Maybe with the Amulet Coin it is.
Now it doesn't even matter what Pokemon you have. It could be Electrode, or it could be a level 100 Groudon with nothing but offensive moves. There's nothing you can do but battle the wild Pokemon in Victory Road now, and there isn't anything to gain by doing so. With all of the options cut off,
and you can't even go through the Elite Four. So, oh wow, you can give them any Pokemon they want and it doesn't matter. That's really funny.
We're now left with the perfect recipe for a disaster and have completely ruined a perfectly good game of Pokemon. Through similar methods, you could also set this up in Fire Red and Leaf Green, since Flash is an optional item in those games too. And
I love how the idea of this video is, oh, you tried to put me into a situation where I wouldn't be able to leave, but it was easy and I didn't have to think about it too much. Let's make it much worse together today.
There is no 1 in 256 glitch. And I'm sure that some of you are wondering about the 3DS remakes. Well, it should come as no surprise that you're not able to replicate what we've done here in those games. This is because that starting with Gen 5, all TMs were no longer single-use items, and thus, you could not sell or get rid of them. And
I suppose you could simply just not pick them up, but there's also some TMs that you get from like maybe Watson that would give Electrode some kind of move that you could use.
In order to reach this point in the game, you'd have to defeat Watson, who in the remakes gives you the TM for Volt Switch, meaning that you'd always have the option to give an Electrode a damage-dealing move. Another reason the trap wouldn't work is because of the Eon Flute. This item essentially functions as a way to use Fly without the need of an HM user.
And it shows how small Hoenn really is.
Therefore, by the time you would make it to the Pokemon League, you'd always have an escape option, no matter what you try. In addition to that, the initial idea for this video was centered around this trap happening at the Pokemon League. However, this is most certainly not the only location that you can trap yourself in. By following the same steps as before, with a few changes, you can strand yourself in places like Dewford, Pacifilog, or even Sutopolis.
Oh man, there's so many options for your eternal hell that you'll never escape from. You could choose the beach or a mountainous village under a massive cave. Wait, does Sutopolis have natural light? Well, I think there's actually an opening in around the mountains. I think it's more of like a mountain surrounding the area, kind of like Las Vegas, obviously with much more water around it. We'll call it Water Vegas, Aqua Vegas. Or you could choose Pacifilog. Honestly, I would say of all the places to get stranded, a beach town on a island resort, or a mountainous sunny region with plenty of water activities, and Pacifidlog Town, a place built on the sea with fantastic views and maritime activities and seafood galore. Honestly, doesn't sound that bad to me.
Even if you get the fishing rods, it won't make a difference. Provided that you've cleared out every possible way to earn money at your selected location, you won't be able to buy any Pokeballs, which means you won't be able to obtain a second Pokemon needed to trade with. And that about does it for this video. If you ever feel like ruining your friend's save file, feel free to give this a try.
Oh yeah, no, I do.
Because
all
I
the time.
highly doubt they'll ever do this to themselves. I've always found these game-ending situations to be a really interesting topic.
No, it is a very interesting topic. I love kind of theory crafting and thinking about, well, like, what could you do in this situation? What is the solution?
To learn about game design by examining how different mechanics and features can be used in unintended ways. In the same way people find glitches appealing, it's fun to find mistakes in what is supposed to be a professional and commercially sold work.
And you haven't asked yet, but I'm going to hit that like button. And I already subscribed, but I'm going to make sure that like button's nice and lit up.
In the case of a long-running series like Pokemon, it's also fun to see how the developers address these problems in future games. When I did my video about getting stuck in Lorelei's room, many were quick to say that you'd likely never end up in that situation unless you did so intentionally.
I mean, yeah, obviously, all of these situations are intentional, but it's fun to see our theory craft about how you could escape them if you did get yourself in them to begin with.
The same could be said about what we've talked about throughout most of this video, too.
Yeah, you can't complain about, oh, you'd only get in there if it was intentional, and turn around and be like, oh, by the way, trap yourself in Evergrande City with only Electrode and nothing else, and sell all of your items, and sell all of your TMs, and get rid of everything, and release all your Pokemon, by the way, too. Like, oh yeah, this is something that could genuinely happen in the game, by the way.
But despite that, Game Freak still saw it worth correcting in Yellow version. Since I made that video, I've learned that in Yellow, the game is programmed to specifically check if the enemy Pokemon is Lorelei's Dugong.
I thought he was going to say, since I've made that video, Game Freak have dropped a patch for Pokemon Blue, so you can't get yourself softlocked here anymore.
So, the game will change how the AI selects its moves, just to prevent her from accidentally triggering the infinite battle. Out of every trainer in the entire game, this only applies to Lorelei, all for the off chance that some poor kid might have otherwise ruined their save file. And that to me is pretty amazing, especially when you consider all of the other stuff they didn't fix. But anyways, that's all I have to say. My name is Patterrz, and thanks for watching.
Well, thank you, Patterrz, for allowing me to react to this. I think this is a lot of fun. I think theory crafting this kind of stuff is also a lot of fun. Very interesting. I think you should definitely go ahead and subscribe to Patterrz. There is a lot more soft lock picking videos that we could check out if it's okay, obviously. And if you guys want to see more of this, which I think it's super interesting. I do love this kind of stuff, but please make sure you go and subscribe to the original creator of the video who's linked down in the description. And you can also subscribe here if you want to see more of my dumb face as well.